Have you ever had that strange feeling that there's something going on behind the scenes of your life, as if an invisible force is orchestrating everything? That's that. It's not paranoia, it's perception. The truth is that you have already begun to vibrate at a frequency that the system does not want you to understand. Yes, you are already experiencing the fifth dimension, without even knowing it. And that changes absolutely everything. They didn't tell you that at school. It's not in the news. Not even in self-help books. Because if everyone knew the power they have, the world would not be the same. Spiritual awakening is not profitable. Elevated consciousness does not fit into the old molds. And that's exactly why they silently teach you to doubt yourself. But you feel, deep down, you feel, that something big is happening. You begin to notice patterns, synchronicities, inexplicable sensations. Suddenly, the world around you seems to respond to your emotions. Coincidence? No. This is just one of the many signs from the universe that your reality is reconfiguring itself. And the craziest part? This dimensional transition is happening en masse, but almost no one talks about it. And who speaks is called crazy. The inconvenient truth is that life as you knew it no longer makes sense. Because you are co-creating a new parallel reality, with new laws, new meanings, new truths. Your subtle energy is shaping everything. And the more you resist, the more things get messed up. But when you start to accept, everything flows. The pieces fit together. The quantum leap becomes inevitable. So the question that doesn't want to be silent is, will you continue to think that you are lost? Or will you realize that you are just getting to where you have always belonged? If you've ever felt this, comment below on number 5, just so I know you're on this journey too. There are those who think that reality is just that here, waking up, working, sleeping, repeating. But anyone who has ever touched the subtle energy of the fifth dimension realizes that there is something beyond the veil, a parallel reality where time does not run, it flows. This dimension is not reached with maps, but with vibrational frequency. It's like tuning into a new radio station. Suddenly, you pick up sounds that have always been there, only now you hear them. And the craziest? No one told you why it changes everything, and changing everything is scary. The fifth dimension is not a place, it is a state of heightened consciousness. It's as if you were seeing life with new eyes, but without having to close the old ones. In it, the spiritual awakening happens in silence, deep in the chest, when the soul realizes that it is no longer stuck in the old script. And yes, this involves a real dimensional transition, where the hidden spiritual world begins to show up between the lines of everyday life. A sign here, a synchronicity there, nothing seems like a coincidence anymore. Those who enter this frequency begin to notice small spiritual symptoms, an inexplicable empathy, a sudden desire to isolate themselves, or even discomfort with certain normalities of the world. Reality begins to feel cramped, like clothes that no longer fit. The quantum leap does not warn you when it will happen, it simply happens, sometimes on any given Sunday, between a coffee and a news story on your cell phone. And that's it, something awakens. Of course, no one talks about it openly. Because this new era requires courage, and fear is still the most widely spoken language out there. The awakening of the soul is too subtle for headlines, and too deep for shallow debates. But those who feel it, know. Those who live, recognize. And little by little, he realizes that he is living a process of spiritual manifestation, without gurus, without applause, only with presence. And this is just the beginning. Because when the first signs of the universe appear, what comes after may seem confused. But is it really confusion? Or perhaps they are hidden symptoms of a new vibrational frequency that has already quietly settled in? It's curious how, sometimes, we think we're disconnected, but in fact it's more aligned than ever. Those who already vibrate in the fifth dimension begin to realize that old conflicts simply lose their importance. Discussions that once burned inside now seem so unnecessary. This is not coldness, it is high consciousness. It's as if the soul says, hey, this doesn't serve me anymore, and everything that no longer has resonance starts to disappear from the radar. Another silent but powerful symptom is energetic sensitivity. Loud sounds are annoying, heavy environments are heavy, and certain people drain, all in an almost physical way. You enter a place and feel the atmosphere without anyone having said a word. This emotional radar is not weakness, it is attunement to the subtle energy that governs the new era. Those who feel it know. It is as if the body became an antenna for frequencies that others do not even know exist. Vivid dreams are also on this list. Not those confusing dreams, but real experiences in parallel realities, where you talk to people you've never met, visit places that feel familiar, and wake up to clear messages. These are all signs from the universe showing you that the dimensional transition is happening. The unconscious opens, the soul travels, and the mind, even without understanding, recognizes the truth. There is also a natural distancing from certain habits and routines. The pleasure in doing what everyone else does simply disappears. That favorite series no longer excites, Friday's ride loses its fun, and even the social media feed seems shallow. The person feels that he no longer fits there, because he is being prepared for something greater. Spiritual awakening does not match the superficiality of the automatic routine. And the more these spiritual symptoms intensify, the more the person wonders, what's happening to me? But the answer is not in books or in consultations with Dr. Google. It's in realizing that what you feel isn't weird, it's just the beginning of true deconstruction. And, look, that feeling of being disconnected, perhaps it is the next sign to be deciphered. Sometimes, the universe speaks quietly, and we only listen when everything around us is silent. That strange feeling of being disconnected from the world, from people, from old pleasures. Sounds like a problem, right? But it is not. In fact, it is one of the clearest signs of spiritual awakening. It is as if the soul is asking for a time, a break, to reorganize itself into a more subtle vibrational frequency. And when that happens, the old world no longer fits right. Feeling bored with routine is not laziness, it is a symptom. What was once comfortable now tightens. The job that paid well begins to seem empty, lukewarm relationships become heavy, and the mirror itself seems to reflect someone who is still finding himself. It is the hidden spirit world rearranging itself within you, and it takes time. Whoever feels this inner discomfort is unknowingly in the midst of an intense dimensional transition. Social distancing is not isolation, it is purification. The soul needs silence to listen to itself, and sometimes that requires getting away from the noise of the world. If the urge to be alone has been knocking on your door more often, no, you're not getting antisocial. You are just freeing yourself from what was distraction. It's the beginning of an internal quantum leap, and that requires space. You know that feeling that no one understands you. It may seem lonely, but it is a sign that you are beginning to access a parallel reality where the old codes no longer make sense. Not everyone will understand your thirst for depth, your hunger for truth. And that's okay. That's part of the process. It's like changing stations, those who are still in the previous one will hear only noise. And this is not rejection, it is resonance. And when this disconnect sets in, it opens doors that were previously locked. Because it is precisely in this vacuum, between the old that has already been and the new that has not yet arrived, that the first whispers of the true awakening of the soul arise. But have you ever stopped to think why this feeling is so misinterpreted? Perhaps because someone doesn't want you to understand what's really going on. There's something curious going on, the more a person awakens, the more it seems like everything around them tries to convince them that they're wrong. Coincidence? Difficult. The truth is that the system, media, school, society, and even certain spiritual figures, is designed to keep you away from your higher vibrational frequency. Because, let's face it, an awakened person is dangerous. She doesn't consume without thinking, she doesn't obey without questioning, and above all, she doesn't fit in. Notice how everything that deviates from the standard script is labeled as weird or wrong. You talk about synchronicity and someone already lets out a, "This is just a coincidence." Comment on a spiritual manifestation and they call you too mystical. This type of reaction does not come by chance. It is a defense mechanism of the old matrix trying to preserve the structure that has always worked on the basis of fear. And whoever gets out of line becomes a threat. The logic of the system is simple: if it can't control you, it will try to confuse you. Therefore, when you begin to experience the first spiritual symptoms, such as strong intuitions, unusual perceptions, and a sudden clarity about certain truths, along comes a bombardment of doubts. Am I freaking out? A classic question of someone who is, in fact, going through a quantum leap and didn't even realize it. And that's where the false guides come in. People who talk about spirituality, but only repeat formulas. People who promise shortcuts, but sell ties. This is also part of the game. Because the more you seek the fifth dimension, the more they will push you manuals, techniques, and methods that do not speak to your soul. It's the old system disguised as a new age, and, ironically, that's also a spiritual test. But the curious thing is that the more the system tries to sabotage you, the more the universe begins to send signals. Strange coincidences, remarkable encounters, feelings of déjà vu. All reminding you that there is a new reality wanting to emerge. And when you start to realize these new laws of reality, something changes profoundly. There are times when everything happens too fast, right? You think of someone and they text. You talk about a subject and it appears on your timeline. Coincidence? No. This is synchronicity in action, one of the laws of the fifth dimension that you are already living without realizing it. When the vibrational frequency rises, the universe begins to respond almost in real time. It is as if reality ceased to be something outside and became a direct reflection of your internal field. In this new game, traditional logic loses strength. Here, what counts is the energy you emit. Were you afraid? Reality mirrors this. Vibrated love. Everything starts to flow. This new age is quietly teaching us that the occult spiritual world is not separate from practical life, it is the basis of it. Therefore, paying attention to what you feel has become more important than what you say. Reality now responds to the soul, not just to reason. Another law that is revealed is that of immediate spiritual manifestation. In the past, you had to wish for something, make plans, wait. Today, just align intention with emotion and boom, the result begins to form. This may seem magical, but it has a foundation. Subtle energy obeys vibration, and its vibration is increasingly compatible with the fifth dimension. Want a simple example? Remember the last time you thought about changing something, and, without knowing how, the path appeared. In addition, intuition becomes almost a spiritual GPS. That inner voice that was previously ignored now screams. And the more you trust her, the more she gets it right. That is you resonating with higher consciousness. And there is an important detail: the more aligned you are, the more these new laws replace the old rules that said, everything is difficult, nothing comes easy, you have to suffer to get it. Forget about it. This is talk from the old dimension. And maybe you haven't even realized it yet, but you are already creating, shaping, and co-creating your own reality based on these new cosmic guidelines. And if so, imagine what else you're already manifesting, without even realizing it. Have you ever noticed how some things that you only thought about, without even talking about, started to happen? This is quantum manifestation. And the craziest thing, it doesn't wait for you to understand to start working. If you have been feeling that the universe is listening to you faster than before, it is because your vibrational frequency is already interacting with the fifth dimension. It's not magic, it's vibration. And the more aware you become, the more powerful the process becomes. You want more peace, suddenly, some friendships disappear. You think about changing jobs, out of nowhere, an opportunity or a conflict comes up that forces you to leave. That's the quantum leap happening on the inside and reflecting on the outside. Spiritual manifestation does not depend only on what you want, but on what you emit. The universe reads your vibration, not your speech. And this is not always presented with fireworks. Sometimes the sign of the universe is a casual conversation, a video that appears out of nowhere, a delay that prevents an accident. Those who live in the fifth dimension learn to interpret these micro-events as adjustments of the parallel reality. Everything begins to have a deeper reason, even seemingly silly things. Life becomes a subtle board of spiritual clues. Now, be careful, when you start manifesting in a quantum way, everything accelerates. And if you're not mindful of what you're cultivating internally, you can start to attract situations that reinforce your most limiting beliefs. Therefore, the awakening of the soul requires vibrational responsibility. Thought. Felt. Vibrated. So, the universe delivers. It's that simple, and that's why it's so powerful. And when the penny starts to drop, there is that inevitable question, if I'm already manifesting without realizing it. What is behind the most recent pains I have experienced? Because, sometimes, what seems like pain, is just a gentle push from the soul to the next phase of the game. Nobody likes pain. But what if I told you that that loss, that crisis, that moment when everything seemed to fall apart? Was it actually an invitation? In the fifth dimension, pain is not punishment, it is a tool. It does not come to punish, but to polish. Like an invisible hand saying, "You've grown up here, now it's time to move on." And even if the ego kicks, the soul knows, the quantum leap only happens when something breaks. It is in this rupture that the awakening of the soul intensifies. That anxiety that came out of nowhere, that emptiness in the middle of everything. They are spiritual symptoms of a deep vibrational transition. The old self is being deprogrammed. And yes, it hurts, because the attachment to what once was screams loudly. But that's exactly where the portal lives. Going through pain with awareness is what puts you in the new frequency once and for all. Pain opens the vision. Suddenly, what was once a priority loses its meaning. Toxic relationships fall apart, harmful habits start to bother you, and you find yourself questioning everything. This inner collapse is the clear sign that the higher consciousness is activating. It's as if life puts you on your knees, not to humiliate you, but to align you with the subtle energy that rules the new era. Of course, no one teaches this. From an early age we are told that pain is something to avoid, that happiness is the absence of suffering. But what if it's the other way around? What if the pains are, in fact, portals to a parallel reality where everything makes more sense? Anyone who has been through it knows, after crying comes clarity, after loss comes reunion, with who you really are. And when this reunion happens, the world changes. Relationships change. The mission changes. Everything realigns with who you've always been in essence. But that only happens when you allow yourself to come out of the old shell. And then, in this new state, everything starts to vibrate differently. Assuming your high frequency is like coming home, only a home you didn't even know you had. Suddenly, everything that once seemed confusing starts to make sense. You start to attract people with the same vibe, situations flow more lightly, and even the challenges take on a different, almost pedagogical tone. It's as if the universe finally responds, "Now yes, you get the game." And believe me, this feeling is priceless. When one aligns with the fifth dimension, life changes in practice. Relationships cease to be dependence and become a mirror. Purpose ceases to be a search and becomes presence. The spiritual manifestation intensifies, what you feel materializes quickly. And if before you lived according to what others expected, now you live according to what your soul vibrates. This is vibrational freedom, and there is no way to unsee it. Heightened consciousness gives you a type of radar that no longer fails. You walk into a place and feel if you should stay. He knows someone and already knows if he has to do with it. You decide something based on intuition and everything falls into place. It's as if you stopped walking in the dark and started living with an indoor flashlight on. And the best part, it inspires others around him. Your high frequency becomes an invitation for others to awaken as well. Over time, you realize that you don't have to fight as hard anymore. The dimensional transition changes your inner rhythm. Haste gives way to confidence. Fear dissolves in presence. And synchronicity becomes a constant companion. You understand that you are creating reality itself in real time, and this makes you a conscious co-creator of the new hidden spiritual world that is unfolding more and more. And here comes the big turn. When you choose to stay in that vibration, everything starts to turn in your favor. The universe doesn't need to push you anymore, it just goes with your flow. But have you noticed that all this is already happening? Now that you know what's going on, what are you going to do with it? Will you continue to ignore the signals of the universe, or will you finally allow yourself to cross this vibrational portal? Because, you see, it's not about being special. It's about being ready. And if you've read this far, it's because something inside you is already screaming for change, for expansion, for truth. The fifth dimension is not a distant place, it is a state that already pulsates within you. There is only one decision left: accept or resist. And if you decide to accept, get ready. Your life will change quietly but profoundly. You will begin to see with your soul, act with your heart, and co-create with the universe. But for that, it needs to get out of autopilot. You need to assume your high frequency, without fear of what others will think. So I ask you, do you still want to keep living as if none of this is real? Or will you apply this knowledge and allow the new age to reveal its true role in the hidden spiritual world that is now forming? Because who awakens? He does not go back to sleep. And who understands, transforms. There is no way to unsee. Comment below the word, "I woke up," if this content made sense to you. I want to see how many souls are ready for this collective quantum leap. And if you want to continue on this journey with me, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because there's still a lot more to come. The new reality has already begun.